without going the whole way into the totalitarian type regime.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It seems to be kind of a meandering about, and in a way I can see that a socialist mindset in that way is very popularly promoted in the media and stuff like this, within the cultural movement and so forth, and it's a hint of it in that way everywhere, but it's not fully drawn to the extent of how it was in the Soviet Union, but the mentality of it, or the thought of it, is kind of seems to lurk below the surface, so to speak.
Yes, and also it did have a desired effect, because they wanted to destroy. See, the family unit was very handy for them for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Since the days of the early Catholic Church and feudalism, which came into Europe at the same time, hand in hand. So that to destroy the family unit now that had served its purpose. And so they gave factions and promoted a separateness for the females, who would be given a slightly different chip on their shoulder than the males would have. This would cause dissension amongst people, make it almost impossible for them to stay together. So it was a training ground, you might say, with a lot of psychology and observation involved, to see the effects, to see how it could be improved and implemented elsewhere.
Yeah, and again, I keep returning to that. It's their system, and they set it up, and then they experiment with it, and we, in a way, we shouldn't be surprised that this is going on, I guess.
Not at all. Not at all. And not only that, I mean, the CIA started up a lot. In fact, most of the left-wing organizations that were known in the U.S. And that people were battling over with right-wing and left-wing, it's now admitted that most of the left-wing organizations, especially in the culture creation industry, were actually run completely by the CIA and MI6 in England.
Yeah, it creates that...
They not only did that, they had 70 offices across the world, including Sweden.
Okay.
And they were heavily involved in the creation of the entertainment side, which gives you the ideas that children follow in Sweden.
So as long as people on the first level, or we can even have a system that is more socialistic in a way, from the people up to the the representatives of the people, but as long as there is a group above them or working behind the scenes, it doesn't matter in a way what the people have, as long as they believe that they have the power to choose and pick and whatever.
That's right.
So
that's right. You believe you have the power of choices, but in fact they'll give you more choices. It doesn't take much, because people don't think through all of the choices.
That's right.
They jump on the choices thinking it's freeing them, but actually is enslaving them and dividing them in another way.
Yeah, and they can even flood the amount of choices that are being made, meaning that the more you have to choose and pick, and because I know a few years ago when they privatized up here the telephone industry, the electric market, and we had different companies coming in, taking over parts of the electric grid and stuff like this. It all was about your tremendous freedom now when you can choose between company A or company B or whatever. But
that's right.
All that happened basically was that people was eventually fed up with making all the choices, so they just handed it over anyway.
Yeah, you see, socialism is a great con. It always was a con. And again, now that they're so arrogant, they're publishing a lot of their declassified information from government departments on all of this. And the strategy was, now they knew they'd have to build countries up with electricity, water supplies, all the infrastructure that you see around you. They had to build it up, and rather than get their own money involved initially, they gave you socialism in the West and in Europe. And all countries, including Britain, the taxpayer funded all of the infrastructure, the roads, everything. The electricity companies, but were all nationalized. And in would come the conservatives after it and say it was just so inefficient. Now that it's all paid for, mind you. So,
that's right, yeah.
And they'd sell it for peanuts
to
right. their friends.
Yep.
This was all planned before it started.
Of course, yep. Yeah,
And this happens over and over again.
It does, yeah, absolutely.
And the public never learn because there's no inter-family history anymore or wisdom to pass on what happened 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no grandmother to say, wait a minute,
Yeah.
This is what happened then.
That's
it's
right.
the same con. And so you can fool every generation now very simply by the same techniques.
Yeah. And again, I mean, we attend the schools that they from the beginning set up, and it's mandatory to go there, and you have to go in that learning system, and people are, thinking that this is a privilege and not a, the other way around, that this is actually hurting, many of the kids today, and it destroys their creativity, their spirituality, and a lot of this stuff, but they're actually, again, just being trained as another brick in the wall, as it were,
They're programmed for the changes which they will accept in their life. That's how carefully it is. The children are literally programmed by the year now as they go into kindergarten.
Yeah.
Beria, who was the chief of the NKVD, the secret police in Russia, in 1934 gave a talk on intergenerational changes that they were creating. And he said then, this was to the Comintern International Communist Committee, which the future Prime Minister of Canada attended, since he was the head of the Communist Party at that time. That was Pierre Trudeau. And Beria said it used to take 70 years to indoctrinate changes through the children into society before you could see them accepting it. He said now, with scientific indoctrination, we can do it, make rapid changes every 5 years, and eventually it will be by the year. What he meant was a kindergarten child going in is being taught very scientifically indoctrinations which will be completely different from the society of his parents, so that he will accept the changes that he's been indoctrinated in without question as he goes through life. And then the following year are even a bit more further forward than him, and so on and so on.
Quicker and quicker.
It's so precise.
Yeah. Do you think that some of these rulers up there might be looking upon, previous civilizations as they rose and fell, and looking upon those as models and in a way admiring them, but the only problem with them was that they actually did fell and not, okay, they have incarnated in different, all the time in different, they take new shapes. It's not that black and white that they, are there and then just disappear. But do you think that they would have the philosophical aspect to all of this, that, okay, we need to have a time for this kind of experimentation to actually develop a method to being able to, with that knowledge, then later implement a civilization that actually will, or an empire that actually will last, and being able to be also flexible, because some of these previous ones weren't that flexible, and when the people change, the empire collapsed basically. But what they're looking for now is an empire that will, be flexible, as it were, with the people, and that's why I think if that's what you're referring to, that they can change, every 5 years, every 10 years, every 1 year, or whatever, to be able to be flexible. What do you think?
They themselves, remember, have no compassion for ordinary people. They see themselves literally as a separate species. All psychopaths do, especially inbred psychopaths. They do know they're different, and they do know their need up until the present of the ordinary people to do all the work for them. We bring into being all of the plans that they want to come.
Yeah.
So, but however, they've already planned a future where they will take the base material. When they say base material, they're talking about the ordinary people.
Yeah.
And that they will perfect them into different types of specialized humans for specific tasks.
Yeah.
That way, when we're all chipped and we don't think for ourselves, and we can't think at all for ourselves as an individual, which they've written a lot about, they'll have no more problems. Their only worry so far is that those who are aware in each generation, who are able to communicate what's really happening to the others, which often overthrows them.
Yeah.
That's why they give us bread in circuses as in the days of Rome.
Yeah.
Now, Huxley said the only reason the previous elite fell And they didn't fall, by the way. They always moved
Yeah,
before
that's
the
right.
fall.
That's right.
But he said the reason those civilizations fell was the elite couldn't provide enough bread and circuses for the people.
There you go.
Now, that's why sports and all this stuff and massive television entertainment is put out in this present phase,
Yeah.
is to keep us all mesmerized, occupied, and stupid and dumb as they roll ahead with this agenda, because they will bring in the ultimate solution, which is their words, and that's the brain chip. That's the brain chip.
Yeah.
Their only problem then is, can they themselves, who really crave power, all keep cooperating at the top? That's the only problem.
Yeah, that's right. Because, I mean, in a way, I think there is a lot of infighting going on at the top, don't you think, also?
Yes, I mean, psychopaths have a great ability to act their way through life, and they do act their way through life. They can be tremendously cordial to each other when they have to combine. But within themselves, each one really strives for higher power. It's the side effect of being a psychopath, they might say.
Yeah.
And that is also their other problem. However, they've even talked about ways to monitor each other, not with a brain chip, but with a form of a cap. They could, and they do have this technology, by the way. It can read your thoughts. There's no doubt about it. It's classified from the Pentagon. They have this equipment. It can actually read people's thoughts. It can insert thoughts into a person.
Yeah.
But it can also read your thoughts as you're thinking. And if it detects anything which is programmed as being wrong or deviant or whatever, it can send them back to the recipient, and then you will change your mind on something.
Oh, there we go. Isn't that nice? You know,
that rectify you as you walk.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, and this is no. I mean, as you say, they have the technology. I put up a news story. What was it, a few weeks ago? That actually talked about a toy, you know, developed over in I don't know if it's China or Japan or whatever, that actually responded to your brain waves and could, in that sense, pick up on what you were thinking.
Yeah, I give a talk on a lot of the declassified stuff and named it all with all the references from the Pentagon.
Oh, interesting.
A couple of weeks ago too.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
And this stuff does exist. Now, the elite have said they could wear a kind of a ring or a cap, something you could put on and off.
Yeah, okay.
Which would basically be able to keep each other in a cooperative frame of mind, you might say.
Yeah.
To stop them from turning on each other when there are no more enemies.
Yeah. Oh my, it's the one ring, you know. It's reminiscent of Sauron and all that.
It's also written in the book, the novel, the last one by Arthur C. Clarke, who gave us the agenda and with the religion in it, actually, in a space form, a Space Odyssey 2001, and 2010 and 3001. Those who run the world in those days, the elite, will have this kind of ring they can put on and off. They'll be able to take it on and off. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. My God, yeah.
They'll all sort of cooperate. If they have wicked thoughts, they could they'll be rectified before they act on them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Alan, I think that's a great way to round things up for this time, and I want to again thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you on, but as usual, before we go, you know, for potential new listeners out there and who people who aren't aware of you, your work, or your you know, your website and all the stuff that you have on there for us, tell us about it before we finish up here.
They can go into cuttingthroughthematrix.com and Alan Watt sentientsentinel.eu for lots of free downloads on a lot of these topics. I give the references to the stuff. I don't speculate. If you speculate, you will be lumped as a conspiracy theorist.
That's right.
I just give you the facts written by the elite themselves from dry, dusty, boring books. And I also have a couple of things for sale there. They're my own books I've written, and videos you can buy as well.
By the way, Alan, before we finish off, I want